fortune of going to Hawaii a couple of months ago. It was beautiful. I could not believe how beautiful it was while we were there. And one of the things, you know, that is a tradition there is a lei, a kind of circle of flowers or other kind of natural things like this one that I'm holding in my hand that people put around your neck to welcome you when you arrive in Hawaii and that kind of thing. Well, we were traveling with some friends who have been to Hawaii many times, and they actually went a few days ahead of when we arrived. So when we arrived, they had purchased leis for each of us. This one happened to be my husband's, and it's made of materials that have lasted now for several months. Mine was made all of flowers and lasted a whole week, but I don't have it anymore. After we were walking around for a while in Hawaii, in some of the parks we went to and some of the other places, I finally said to my husband one morning, now I realize why they make leis here, because there are flowers and all kinds of natural materials just everywhere you go. Lying on the ground when we would go for a walk in the morning, we would see all kinds of flowers there. So what people have done in Hawaii is to take the resources that are quite available to them and put them to good use, a beautiful use, in this way of welcoming people and in giving people gifts as a part of their culture. Well, I was reminded of these leis the other day when I was talking to the pastor of our church at Rio. If you've never been to Rio, you're not alone. Rio is not on a main highway, and it is a very small town. The Presbyterian Church is really the only public building there in Rio now. There used to be a cafe, and I guess before it closed, it was only open for a couple of days a week. But still, it was the gathering spot, not only for people who live in Rio, but for people who live in the countryside around there. Apparently, especially the men would go to the coffee shop in the morning to get all of the news that they needed to get. But the coffee shop has closed. So the session at Rio has done something like the people in Hawaii have done by noticing what the natural resources are there, figuring out what they could do and making something of it. Because what they've done at the church in Rio is to open their doors one morning a week to have coffee. They looked around to see what resources they had, and they realized they had a bunch of tables, a bunch of chairs, a big coffee pot, a warm place, and the ability to open up their doors regularly so that their community could come there to gather. The pastor there was telling me that on the first day they opened their doors for this event, they were filled to capacity and expect more people as the weeks go by. Now, you know, there are words that are around in the church now. Missional church, emergent church, helping us try to figure out new ways of doing things. Rio may not be the place where we might think that there would be cutting-edge things going on. But what they've done there is exactly what people are encouraging us to do as churches. We're supposed to not think the way we have thought for decades, well, they know where we are. If they need the church, they'll come to us. We are supposed to, in the 21st century, think about what are the resources we have? What are the needs of our community? How can our resources help meet those needs? And in doing so, how can we help to share the love of God through Jesus Christ? Rio is doing exactly that. They are seeing themselves as a sent-out people, a people who are looking for a way to share the good news. And they're doing it not by making beautiful things like this by the resources that they have found, but instead by firing up the coffee pot, turning up the furnace, and opening their doors to welcome in their neighbors in the name of Christ.